We move on now to the U.S., where the stock index futures pointed to a higher open today as traders await the latest central bank policy announcement. Our Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen will be outlining her monetary policy report today in an address to Congress, which is likely to also pose questions about further tightening and Yellen's own future at the central bank. On the earnings front, Bank of the Ozarks and Fastenal are scheduled to report before the bell. Burns & Noble and MSC Industrial are both due to report after the market close. The futures numbers are all in the green as at the last check. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was trading high 0.10%. S&P 500 0.13% and Nasdaq 0.15% up. In Asia, equities market there closed mostly lower in midweek trading as markets awaited Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen's testimony before Congress in the U.S. Japan's Nikkei 225 slid 0.48% and South Korea's benchmark Kospi edged down 0.18%. Australia's ASX 200 declined 0.96% to finish at 5,673.8, driven lower by weakness in the financials and healthcare sub-indices. Greater China markets were mixed, with Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index gaining 0.66%, but mainland markets urging lower. The Shanghai Composite closed lower by 0.16% and the Shenzhen Composite shed 0.11%. To commodities markets now, oil prices rose more than 1.5% today, extending gains from the previous day as the U.S. government cut its crude production outlook for next year and as fuel inventories plunged. Brent crude futures were up 76 cents at $48.28 per barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures were at $45.82 per barrel, up 78 cents. Both settled about 1.4% higher on Tuesday. U.S. crude oil inventories fell by 8.1 million barrels in the week to July 7 to 495.6 million, according to the American Petroleum Institute, in an indicator that a long-standing fuel supply overhang is starting to draw down. And to precious metal now, gold edged up for a third day today on a weaker U.S. dollar, while investors await testimony from U.S. Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen and central bank officials expressed caution about further interest rate hikes. Spot gold rose 0.2% to $1,219 per ounce, adding to a 0.3% gain in the previous session, its biggest rise since June 23. U.S. gold futures for August delivery rose 0.4% to $1,218 per ounce. And here in Nigeria, at the fixed income market, investors in the Treasury bill space were upbeat on Tuesday, with average yield contracting by 6 basis points to 18.28%. Also, the bulls dominated the bond market as average yield contracted by 4 basis points to 16.82%. At a primary market auction today, the DMO will offer 135 billion naira, comprising of the FGN bonds. Let's talk to a fixed income dealer now with Weber Bank, Ifeanyi Akweche. Good afternoon, Ifeanyi. Thank you very much for coming through to us.
Okay, thank you very much.
There's a bond auction today. What's the outlook like?
For the bond auction today, we actually expect lower yields as compared to the secondary markets. All this while, the bond market has actually been quite inactive. But for today, with yields at the secondary market around between 16% and 16.6%, at the moment, we expect that the secondary market offers better yields as compared to whatever we're expecting from the auction today. The auction is supposed to be for reopening of 5 years, 10 years, and 20 years, just like you mentioned. The the volumes will be spread across the maturities.
Now, this is the first bond auction by the new DMO DG, Patience Oniha. What subscription level are you expecting to see? Last bond auction wasn't well subscribed. Do you expect to see an oversubscription this time around?
Well, it's basically driven by market demand and supply. At the moment, the yields in the secondary market, as I said earlier, are quite more attractive compared to what the market expects from the DMO. Irrespective, we still expect some other investors to actually be on the demand level for the auction for today. But before the auction comes out, the market is actually trading at a very high level, and people are really interested in buying more from the secondary market compared to sentiments for the primary auctions.
Now, for today, how would you compare the opening yield to what you have as we speak?
Like I said, if the demand for the bonds, federal government bonds, especially the 10 years bond, has actually been very active. People are really interested in the bond, especially the ones that are around higher yields at 16.2, 16.25% in the secondary market. But from opening and closing, we've actually seen a little bit of drop as people are more interested in, some of these bonds at the secondary market.
All right, thank you very much, Ifeanyi, for your time. Away from the market, an International Monetary Fund delegation is in Mozambique now to follow up on a damning external audit of $2 billion of a controversial borrowing by companies controlled by the Southern African nation's intelligence services. The IMF had stipulated that an audit by risk management firm Kroll Incorporated be carried out for it to resume financial support. However, the audit's findings remain troubling, in particular that at least $500 million had gone missing. Although the fallout from the debt, which has not cleared through our parliament, has hammered one of the world's poorest economies, IMF Managing Director Christine Lagarde singled out the deals as clearly concealing corruption. As such, it is hard for the IMF to resume its relationship as though nothing has happened. Credit Suisse, Switzerland's second biggest bank, and the Russian lender VTB have come under scrutiny for their roles in negotiating the loans, one of which was a $500 million Eurobond issued ostensibly to build a state tuna fishing fleet. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back in a moment. To stay with us.